The Milky Way is 100,000 light-years across. Within it, there are an estimated 400 billion stars, and orbiting those stars, potentially trillions of planets. The question of whether any of them could support life is the oldest and most profound question in science. This week, that question got closer to an answer. A team of astronomers at the University of California, Irvine, and the University of Texas published findings in the Astrophysical Journal confirming the discovery of a rocky super-Earth just 25 light-years from our own planet. In the constellation of Camelopardalis the Giraffe, a world sits in the exact zone where liquid water could exist, where temperatures could be right, where, for the first time in a long time, the word habitable does not feel like a stretch. The planet is designated GJ3378b. It orbits a faint red dwarf star in the northern constellation of Camelopardalis, completing one full orbit every 21 days. It has a mass of approximately 2.3 times that of Earth, making it what astronomers call a super-Earth. Rocky, solid, the kind of world where, if conditions are right, you could stand on the surface. It receives about 90% of the solar radiation that Earth receives from the Sun, sitting close enough to the habitable zone's inner edge to be warm, but not so close as to be cooked. The lead researcher, Dr. Paul Robertson of UC Irvine, described it simply. This one is exciting. It is one of our closest cosmic neighbors. 25 light-years sounds like a long way, but the Milky Way is about 100,000 light-years across. In that respect, it is next door. The planet was first identified in 2024 by French astronomers, but something didn't add up. The initial measurements suggested a mass of over 5 Earth masses, which would have pushed it into mini-Neptune territory. A gaseous world. Inhospitable. Wrong. So 2 American teams, using 2 of the world's most sensitive spectrographs, looked again. By taking a second look at the planet using 2 different telescopes, Robertson's team was able to show that the planet's true mass is 2.3 times the mass of Earth. Rocky, not gaseous. The Habitable Zone planet finder on the Hobby-Eberly telescope in Texas and the NEID spectrometer at Kitt Peak National Observatory in Arizona both confirmed the same result. The planet is smaller than thought, closer than thought, and sitting precisely in the Goldilocks Zone. The Habitable Zone, sometimes called the Goldilocks Zone, is the band of orbital distance from a star where surface temperatures could theoretically allow liquid water to exist. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Our mantra is, follow the water, Robertson says. It's the one thing every known living thing on Earth needs, so that's the first thing we look for when trying to find environments that could sustain life. About 70% of all stars in our galaxy are red dwarfs, which means that if planets around red dwarfs can support life, then life may not be a rare cosmic exception, it may be the standard outcome. The statistically typical result of a universe that has been making planets for 13 billion years. GJ3378b sits inside that zone. Its position is not hypothetical, not borderline. It is well within the range where liquid water is physically plausible. But here is where it gets complicated. The paper's title describes GJ3378b as a planet straddling the cosmic shoreline. That phrase deserves attention. Red dwarf stars, despite being the most common type of star in the galaxy, are dangerous neighbors. They emit powerful bursts of ultraviolet and X-ray radiation. They drive intense stellar winds, and in their early lives, they are particularly violent. GJ3378b has absorbed roughly 48 times the cumulative XUV flux that Earth received over its lifetime. That radiation may have stripped away any atmosphere the planet once had, and without an atmosphere, liquid water cannot exist, cannot pool, cannot sustain life. If you scale the Earth down to the size of an apple, Its atmosphere would be about as thick as the skin of the apple. That's just enough to maintain the surface pressures at which you can have liquid water, Robertson explained. The question that cannot yet be answered is whether GJ3378b still has its skin. And that is the honest truth of where we are. It is not close enough to visit, and it will be decades before anyone can confirm the one fact that would actually make it habitable. That gap between what has just been measured and what remains unknown is the real substance of the discovery. We know its mass. We know its orbit. We know it receives almost exactly the same amount of starlight as Earth. We do not know if it has an atmosphere. We do not know if it has liquid water. We do not know if it has land, or sea, or clouds, or life, or if it is airless and cratered and silent. No current instrument can answer these questions. But the next generation of telescopes, with mirrors up to 80 feet across, capable of suppressing starlight to a 10/1000th of its brightness, may be able to take a direct photograph of GJ3378b and read the chemistry of whatever atmosphere it may have retained. That telescope does not yet exist, but it is being built. Most potentially habitable exoplanets discovered so far orbit stars that are hundreds or thousands of light-years away, far enough that detailed atmospheric study is essentially impossible with any telescope currently in operation or under construction. GJ3378b is different. At 25 light-years, it is close enough to study, close enough to point future instruments at, close enough that if it does have an atmosphere, we may one day be able to detect the chemical signatures of biology itself: oxygen, methane, the fingerprints of life. We are still in the reconnaissance phase of our solar neighborhood, trying to find the planets around the nearest stars because those will be the easiest ones to detect a biosignature on. This planet brings us one step closer to knowing all of our neighbors and, ultimately, which might be hospitable for life. We are mapping our neighborhood, and our neighborhood is getting more interesting by the week. The Habitable Zone Planet Finder has been cataloging potentially habitable planets within roughly 30 light-years of our Sun since 2018. GJ3378b is its latest addition. Each discovery narrows the list. Each confirmation brings the next generation of telescopes one target closer to the question that has defined human curiosity since we first looked up. Are we alone? The honest answer is that we still don't know. But we are asking the question with better tools, in more precise locations, than at any point in human history. And the answer, when it comes, will be found around a star just like GJ3378. Quiet, dim, ordinary, 25 light-years away, already in our telescope's sight. If the idea that our nearest neighbor might not be empty keeps you up at night, you're in exactly the right place. We cover the biggest discoveries in space and science every single week. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, and we'll see you in the next one.